Hey, what's up, guys? So after that successful season, you'd probably think that we wouldn't want to do too much in the transfer market and that we would be content with just sort of sitting back on our laurels and sticking with the players that we've got. You would think wrong. Let me give you a look here what we've done. So this is the first day of the transfer window here. We have completed the signings of 30 players, so we bought a completely new team for free without spending a single penny in transfer fees. Have I mentioned to you that amateur leagues and teams are much easier to manage because you can do stuff like this? We just went around and we signed a whole bunch of players from the national team who were not assigned to any club. And we went and found the best players in all the other teams and signed them all to our team. And they've all arrived, I believe they've all arrived right away. And so now we can go about the somewhat arduous task of figuring out who we want to keep, who we don't want to keep, and what exactly it is we want to do. First thing we're going to do here, of course, is we are going to hopefully be able to keep this guy here on tap, and let's see if we can get a new contract with him. Again, it's an amateur league, so anybody can go over and get Viali as much as they want. He's a pretty fairly good player. He's played with us fairly regularly. He's had a little bit of problems with consistency, but everybody does here on this level and at this stage. And so we'll do the best that we can just to hold on to him, if for nothing else than to prevent Tapu Timu Youth from becoming any better. Now, the next step here, now that we brought all of our guys in, is to look at the squad planner and figure out what exactly it is we're going to do. We'll just do an Ask Assistant to suggest for everything and just sort of see what they come up with. Now, the reason why we're doing this, of course, is because we're in hardcore mode. So when I look here at Hengi Ikuvalu, I can't see any stars anywhere. I can't see any star ratings at all. I can't see how his ability compares with anybody else's ability. Now, I could hover my mouse over this and sort of cheat a little bit, right, and get a little bit of an idea. But I'm not going to do that for everybody. It's going to take too long. It's not really worth it. What I will do is I will look at the reports, go into the coach reports, see what's going on, see who is consistent, who is not consistent, and make decisions as to who will start where based upon that. As you can see, Atu is probably not going to be our first choice goalkeeper anymore. We're probably going to put this guy in as goalkeeper instead. And some of these other guys will probably end up on the under-18 squad. We'll do some of that as well here at the top. So one of the problems that we have is that we have far too many strikers, and we're playing in a setup that has two striker positions. There are two things we can do. We could take the central attacking midfielder and push the position up, or we could just stick with one and sort of get rid of a whole bunch of the rest of these guys. I do want to keep Maile playing since he's been playing so well for us, and I also want to give Petu Poli a chance since he was the second leading goal scorer in the league. I'm thinking what we'll probably end up doing is we'll probably take this position, move it up. Corey Nordy can always play a little bit further back, and some of these other guys who only play in that position, is there anybody like this guy, Peyton Milani? We might end up just sticking him back in the under-18s squad, or we might just end up releasing him outright. There are other players that we know that we're going to probably release outright. I was talking last time about Lankilde and Atu. These guys are gone. They're not going to stay around much longer. Now, there are some questions about some of these, like Tualaulele, whether he actually is going to be a defensive midfielder or not. He'd much rather play center back, and so we're probably going to go through and assign him. Yeah, he's going to be our leading center back here. The nice thing about the squad planner is that you can go ahead and remove him from that position and not have to think about it anymore, and not be tempted to play him in a position that he probably shouldn't play in. And you can see here that we got guys like Taumoa, who probably will play in defensive midfield instead of playing over here in midfield itself, because he comes over as our best defensive midfielder, even though he really wants to be a actual midfielder. There's another thing we could do. We could always get rid of this position, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. I would much rather take this and move them up, maybe make this into an attacking Mazala rule to try to account for the fact that we won't have this shadow striker here, or do something like that. We'll play around with it a little bit and sort of see exactly what it is that we can do. Gives you an idea, though, of how to do this. Now, I will admit that when it comes to Football Manager planning, I don't usually use this squad planner. I use my own. So this is something I think I've shown before here on the channel. This is what I used for the most recent season, and I went through and made a couple of notes of the players who I want to play in every position. And the reason why, of course, is because, believe it or not, it's kind of hard to go here in the squad planner between the squad planner and the tactics screen, and to make sure that you've got everything set up like exactly right and the right guys in the right places and stuff like that. It's not that easy. It's not really that well designed. It would be nice if these two screens were integrated instead of having to go back and then having to go check your notes again and say, oh no, I wanted this guy to play here. Because of that, it's so much easier just to have one of these documents on the side. You write everything in, you make sure you have the players where you want them, and you kind of use them. We now have enough players on this squad, fortunately, so that we can start getting rid of guys. We can start getting rid of some of these guys like MJ Scanlon, who really never were going to get into the club anyway. Might not have the required ability or potential. He played in one match, got a 7.5 rating, right? But yeah, he played only in the match against Black Roses and didn't even come close to sniffing the team. We'll be able to weed out some of the fat, get rid of some of that stuff. We'll take a look here also at the development center. I'm clicking the wrong place. See if any of these guys could move up, and sort of see what we're doing from there. And just so you know, we are continuing to scout players. So when we look at our scout priorities, this is the way that I scout. I just find the guys I want to scout and have the scouts go scout them. When we look at this, though, we've added on a whole bunch of scouting priorities. There are a lot of guys here to look at. Basically, everybody who's in new gen is going to be looked at by us, and we'll see if we can find some other players to get. Probably not going to be able to get through all of these before the transfer window ends. If I remember right, the transfer window is pretty short. Let's take a look here and see. Yeah, it goes from November 23rd until December 11th, which is not much time. There's another one, though, that comes up in the summer, and that will be in time for the new season. What we have to worry about before then, of course, is this competition, the OFC Champions League, which is going to start around February 24th. And so that's around the time we're going to have to worry about all that stuff. Anyway, that's the plan. I'm not going to go through necessarily the entire process of going through every single player for you so you can see every single thing that happens. But here near the end of this winter transfer period, I'll let you take another look at the squad, and we'll see what sort of changes we've made. And hopefully they'll be good enough to allow us to not totally embarrass ourselves in the Champions League, but we'll see what happens. I'm not exactly full of optimism. So anyway, with that, I will talk with you again. Bye.